Right. Um, I'm probably going to take some questions very early on today because it is a roller coaster ride. I just finished talking to my daughter, Hannah, and our daughter, Hannah, and she said, this has been a big lie from the beginning, a big lie from the beginning. And we knew it, you know. Um, we knew it. Even with all the brainstorming, even with all the work, I can't even tell you how many hours, how many tears have been shed during our labors to try to find out what happened to our brother, our son, um, our friend, our uncle, our godfather, our cousin, you know, our grandson. And when days like this happen, well, isn't it a fitting day? The day um, when we are remembering the betrayal of our Lord. We didn't want Christendom the easy way. We wanted it the hard way. We didn't want it the easy way. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. But it's gonna be the hard way. And the way we get it is, the chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. And I had a person I think is very dear to me write me a little note and how she's all alone. And I don't know how. I don't know how to respond um, when you're in that kind of a situation. I think the catechisms are a good place to start. The Heidelberg Catechism is a great place to start to find some comfort, to know that you're not alone, right? To know that you are not alone, and that the chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. And that means that we have to fight for justice. Our duty in life is to establish justice, to establish righteousness. Okay? It's not to satisfy our whims, what we like, what we don't like, our personal desires. That is not our purpose. That's my faith. Our purpose is to establish justice, to establish righteousness, because justice and righteousness are synonymous. And that is our responsibility. And it's not easy. And we know that that is what our duty is because we have an attorney general, because we have judges, because we have a DA, because we have representatives that go to make sure that the laws are about establishing justice, doing the right thing. That's why. Otherwise, why would we even have that in our Constitution? Why would we even want the uh, the whole government system? And of course, we have the three bodies. Why do we have the three bodies? For checks and balances. Why do we have the checks and balances? Because we know that we can't trust ourselves or each other. We can't trust ourselves. We can't trust each other. We have to have checks and balances. That's why the family is so important. That's why mothers and fathers are so important. That's why it says, teach your children the way they should walk, in the way they should walk. And God gives you a whole host of, don't let your daughters do this, don't let your sons do this, daughters do this, sons do this. I mean, a whole host of directions, but very easily learned in a medium-sized book called the Holy Bible. Whereas we have now unrighteousness being turned into laws and regulations, taxes, business plans, really sly little legal business plans that tax us, that are filling buildings upon buildings upon buildings that are, um, tyranny. It's downright tyranny. It's downright chaotic. It's downright unjust. It's not right. And then we don't have happiness. We're going to learn Good Friday and Saturday the hard way. We're going to learn Easter the hard way. We really are. Once upon a time, everybody stopped. Everybody remembered. And how dare you not remember? How dare you not stop? That was the attitude. How dare you vacuum? How dare you do your dishes? How dare you do laundry on Good Friday, right? That was the attitude. That was the attitude in our family anyway. And it was very, very strong with my grandmother, with my Oma. Very strong. And I didn't understand it, to be honest with you. And now with Richard's case, with growing older and seeing the injustices being established. Injustice is being established. And, God is not like mean. He doesn't want to prevent people from having what they want. You see, he just knows what's going to lead you off of a cliff, and he tries to prevent you from going off the cliff, or from domino effects to start happening. And then we have a whole nation of pedophilia, a whole nation of pornography, a whole nation. It doesn't stop there, because any kind of pornography is child sex trafficking, right? And then with child sex trafficking comes rape, comes the child pornography, comes weapons, comes murders, comes every kind of drug crime, comes blackmail, becomes corruption in our state houses. And then what happens? The corruption, the very evil ideology, the unjust ideology gets legalized. The murder gets legalized. The porn gets legalized. The business plans that are really evil gets legalized. And then it's so corrupt that the media, and this is what I'm going to be talking about today, the media gets bought out and becomes so corrupt. And we all know, the majority of us know that our media is totally corrupt. Where is all the media to cover this case? Where are they? They were at the beginning, to get the little nuggets before they found out that this this was not a lockstepping, okay, let's rub shoulders together in the corruption. We're not going to tell lies for the sake of telling lies so that the corruption can grow. It's like fertilizer. Lies are like fertilizer to the corruption. And we weren't going to do it. And yes, we were desperate. So desperate. We're still desperate to find out what happened to Richard, right? But our duty is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever, which means to establish justice. And so in order to find Richard, whether God wants it or not, we would have to just do what He wants us to do and not rub shoulders with the evil, not play games with the generals, not play games with Veronica Escobar, not play games with the CID, not play games with anybody that was helping us. We weren't going to play any games. We were going to be honest with everybody, gracious with everybody, but also direct and establish righteousness. And we were going to be transparent. And the transparency, when you shine lights, a lot of lights, on a lot of unjust maneuvering, unrighteous things, unrighteous actions, then there is crying and gnashing of teeth. And people bite back, right? Agencies bite back because they don't want the light shined on them, like the Attorney General, Jaime Esparza. Where is he? Everything that I've read about what an Attorney General should do, he's not doing in this case. Everything that I've read for the DA, Bill Hicks, everything I've read, what he should be doing, he's not doing. Everything that I've read that a general should be doing, they're not doing. They're not doing it. Everything that I read that Representative Veronica Escobar should be doing, she's not doing. They're all fraud, waste, and abuse. They all need to be fired because they're not doing what the public has put them in office and paid them great. We have been so gracious. We've been so good to our lawmakers, to our DAs, to our attorney generals, to our inspector generals, to our government officials. We give them everything. We give them everything. We let them abuse us. They know that we know that they're abusing us, and they still do it. Because we're hoping that one day, even after abusing us, they will do the right thing. That they will love America. That they will love God and enjoy Him forever. Right? That's what we're hoping. We're always hoping because we don't want to be violent. That whole January 6th was such a fraud, waste, and abuse. It was such a setup because we were there. We saw it. We saw it. And, where was the media? The media wasn't there to report what I saw. And so I had to go live. I went live, which puts me in danger. But, and I know that reporters get put in danger. They get paid and know the risk. So that when I reported on January 6th, that put me in danger. It was a war zone. We're in a shadow war. We're in a shadow war, and they're trying to take us out one by one. Or many by many with this Cobra strike. We'll see. The deaths, the problems, it's such a business plan made legal or mandated, mandated and pushed. Yeah. And so this media has become a cover for the media that's in the shadow. That's what I'm thinking right now. That's what I'm thinking. Because when you have this much power as a DA, as an AG, as a, let me go to the whole list. I have a whole list here. Because I forget them sometimes because if they haven't contacted me, I should know them all by first names. But they haven't contacted me. So Greg McDonald, Chief of Border Crimes. Ian Martinez Hanna, Chief of Major Crimes. It may be Hannah. I say Hannah. Okay. He should be absolutely contacting us because from what I'm reading in the shadow media, is there a shadow media? There seems to be a shadow media. I can see when you are sent some links that don't go anywhere, uh, because, oh, we'll take it down or whatever. I don't know. I can see one example or whatever. But when you get a whole host of them, whole hosts of them, we've gotten a whole host of shadow media. And, where are the answers? I didn't know about this. I don't know about that. Who's reading this shadow media? Who has access to this shadow media? And it makes sense to me because you've got to have media, right? You've got to have media. You've got to have a news source. You've got to go somewhere. I mean, you're all over the world. Of course, we have email. Of course, we have social media. But we need to be able to read reports on current events. And we need to be able to access those current event archives to make, all of our business decisions, to understand what's going on in the world, whatever. We need some source of truth. And we know that our shell media is, President Trump calls it fake media. And I'm thinking, wow, I think he's really right on this. Fake media, fake shell media. It's a shell game, right? You just see the shell, right? And you have to have access. You have to know which shell is where the real media is to read. Who gets that access for the shadow media? Who gets the real stories? Who gets, I just want to know. Because don't tell me that all of these links, and 3 of them are big links. I have them right here. I have one here, David Martin. Let me see, I just accidentally pushed a button. Oh, here's Jamie Esparza. Okay, accidentally clicked my mouse. Okay, so David Martin, he is a correspondent for CBS News who has covered the case of Private Richard Halliday. Here are some articles and videos he has reported on. Really? Wow. Okay, I'm interested. This is my son that I've been looking for. I want to know what he has to say. Remains of Fort Bliss soldier Private Richard Halliday found in New Mexico desert. Really? Wow. August 7th, 2020. I did not know remains of my son, and this was partial remains, were found in the New Mexico desert. I didn't know that. So I wanted to click this CBSnews.com news. Richard Halliday, Fort Bliss soldier, remains found in New Mexico desert. I wanted to click that. It leads to nowhere. I can't read it. It's in the shadow. I don't have access to my own son's information. Here's another one by him. David Martin is not just nobody. He's a seasoned reporter. Okay? Death of Fort Bliss soldier Private Richard Halliday in training exercise ruled accidental. Really? What's that about? Wow. Now, I don't really trust that one too much. I don't know, but it would be nice. It would be nice to be able to access it and to discern for myself if it was real or not, if it was true or not. I mean, doesn't Rob and I, don't we have a right to access these links? This shadow news? Especially when they say they have found Richard. David Martin has been with CBS News national security correspondent covering the Pentagon and the State Department since 1993. In that capacity, he has reported virtually every major defense, intelligence, and international affairs story for the CBS Evening News, as well as for other broadcasts, including 60 Minutes and 48 Hours. He also contributed to 60 Minutes Wednesday. Wow. The first one really is something. Okay, here's another one. Christine Lamb has written multiple articles. Oops. Turn that down. Has written multiple articles about Private Halliday. Here are some examples. Okay, partial remains of Fort Bliss soldier Richard Halliday found, Army confirms on August 7th. So this is interesting because both of these are August 7th, the first two. I thought that was interesting. And I got more details on them, believe it or not. I did get more details. Because, you have to remember that they're in the shadow, right? Just like these burner phones. Just like these February to May vile and vulgar messages that we were getting daily. And everybody was like, well, you can't trace burner phones, like the CID, we can't trace those. Really? We give them this. We give them the numbers, and they don't help us. They know that we're being bullied. They know that we're suffering through vile and vulgar messaging, and they don't help us. But we figure it out how to trace them. We get the traces of these teams of places. Three locations for each team, 4 traces. One of them, remember? One of them, Santa Clara, California, big Silicon Valley. That was the headquarters with Stanford University in controlling the narrative through the social media of millions and millions of people. And then Clem Coward's phone somehow connects with Santa Clara. I don't understand that. I would like answers. Because we were harassed for months. Tried to be intimidated not to even think about our son. Or to think badly of our son. The second one, of course, was Denmark. Denmark is NATO. The third one was South Korea. Interesting. South Korea, right by the embassy. Of course, the embassy houses the FBI. And then, of course, the fourth one was the Toronto City Hall. And the White House. The White House. Yeah, our White House. Our White House in Washington, D.C. Hey, we just did the tracing. We didn't know where they would lead. About 10, 11 months ago, we gave all of that to all the authority. When we send out something, we don't send it out to just one person. We send it out to all these people because we're hoping that maybe one of them will want to establish justice, will want to establish righteousness, will want to love God and enjoy Him forever, glorify God and enjoy Him forever. One of them will have the love of our country in their heart. Will have the love of our service members in their heart. Maybe. To do something. Partial remains. So both David Martin and Kristen Lamb in there. This is USA Today. USA Today is that's no bump on a log. I mean, they're established. Is this a shadow media for those that are privileged, for those that have access? Because I don't have access. But remember, we find a way. We find a way. Legally. Okay, another one. Human remains found in desert identified as Fort Bliss soldier missing since July. That was written on December 4th, 2020. This is 2020, y'all. This August 7th, 2020, that was before we even knew that Richard was missing, because they didn't even contact us. It states that his remains were discovered in a remote desert area. Okay, so Kristen Lamb is a breaking news reporter based in Los Angeles Bureau for USA Today. Yeah. She has a very good CV. Okay, and then the biggie. The biggie. This is the biggie, because I've seen his name quite a bit. And this is Army Times. And I'll get you more. I will try to get you more. But this is Kyle Remfer. The Army Times article about Private Halliday's death and subsequent discovery of his remains was written by Kyle Remfer, who is a staff writer for the publication. Here is the link to the Army Times article by Kyle Remfer about Private Halliday's death and the discovery of his remains. He covered Asia Graham's story. You can look on Army Times. And we're, let me tell you what we learned. This is what we learned. And okay, so let me put this on. Okay, so Attorney General Jamie Esparza, pay attention. Pay attention. We need help. We need you to contact us. We wrote you a letter. We haven't gotten an acknowledgement. Veronica Escobar, pay attention. We wrote you a letter, and yes, we did get a response, an acknowledgement. So yesterday, it was the evening day before, but we looked at it yesterday. We were like, oh, she responded. Her response was a public letter, because she knows that we're transparent. She knows that we would absolutely publicize her letter. But we have questions for her. One, why hasn't she made an inquiry? Has she made an inquiry? When was the last time she has ever made an inquiry into Richard? I mean, the last time we talked to her was in 2020. If she knew this, if she had access to these stories, then she wouldn't even care, right? Makes sense why they dismissed the DUI file, or whatever that's called, case. Makes sense why they had a fake stage task force Find Richard Halliday with no op-ord. Why they had no op-ords. They already had found him. I mean, suppose this is all right, that this shadow news is all right, that this shadow news is telling the truth, because we know that the shell fake news, the news out there that is given to us, we know that's fake. We know that's not real. So is this shadow news real? Or do they have a fake problem too? Where do you go to get good news if you're privileged? Do you have access? But let's say it makes sense in this case, in this timeline, everything. Because of course they wouldn't want to look for Richard. They wouldn't have any urgency. I mean, it took them 2.5 months, right, to go do the search again. And then it was like, oh, just because we have to, like, it was like they were on a stage, that they were acting. There was no realness about it. There was no urgency about it. And why the task force was staged, and why they just, everything was just a manipulation. It was a lie, a big lie from the beginning, like Hannah said, a big lie from the beginning. Why? Because there were pieces, partial, because there's 2 reports here. July 29th, partial remains were found of Richard. August 7th, partial remains of Richard were found. So how many partial remains? How many days did it take? And we've been told over and over again, and these times, Richard was in pieces. And they're like, oh, no, they wouldn't do that. I assure you, this is not another Vanessa Guillen. We're at almost 1,000 days. I didn't believe it then. I don't believe it now. I've tried to believe it. I've tried working with people that absolutely believed he was still alive. I did everything in my power to find Richard still alive. But everything that came back to us was, oh, the FBI were looking for the remains of Richard in Juarez, Mexico. Shh, they found him. He's dead. Shh. Why is that a secret? Because only the privileged in this fake media can know the truth, that Richard was in pieces and they found him. Who put him in pieces? Who's covering this up? Because they can't have another Vanessa Guillen. The leak that came out of Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe's meeting. Look, people can only take so much of this kind of evil until they really start leaking. Because in their heart of hearts, they know the chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy him forever, is to establish justice and righteousness on earth as it is in heaven. Right? They know it. They know it in every fiber of their body. And that's why morale gets low. That's why you have suicides rising. That's why people get PTSD. That's why they have to go on mental health illness medication. And then they feel alone. They feel alone. Because the evil is all around them all the time. Jesus felt alone today. In the depths, the dark. He was alone in the depths and the dark. But Sunday's coming. Sunday's coming. There's always a way. They try to make these shadow media. They try to, what else are they doing in the shadow? They dwell in the shadow. Right? Because the Attorney General is in the shadow for me. Where is he? Um, who's the other? All of these divisions, they're in the shadow. The DA's in the shadow. Where is Bill Hicks? He says he has loads and loads of cases. Why does he have loads and loads of cases? Because they've made a mess out of everything. Because they haven't established righteousness and justice. If they've nipped it in the bud, they wouldn't have these kind of cases. They wouldn't have to even work full time. I don't even know if they do work full time because they're so corrupt. They're so corrupt. What do they do? I mean, Representative, I'm gonna post it. But Representative Veronica Escobar's letter is like she gets paid for that. She gets paid for that. It's almost like pointing the finger at us. You didn't meet with Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. Yes, we did. We did, and we did, and we did. And we finally said, we're not going to meet with you anymore because it's just a bully. It's just you have to understand, they want to do you, twist you, you know? They want to twist you into, I don't know, like they're the big general and we're supposed to trust them and not call them out on their absolute insanity. And with COVID, it was so easy to see their absolute insanity because it was absolute insanity. And then, so here they are with this COVID absolute insanity that was hypocritical. You know that because they were paying for girls to be brought in during the COVID to have parties in the barracks during the COVID insanity. And then they come back at you with, we know they're having frat parties every day, and they come back, we take underage drinking seriously. I mean, this is why I'm meeting with the general and his SJA. I want to know where my son is. To be subjected to these kind of meetings where they're insulting us, where they want to ride us. I don't need to go to those kind of meetings. And where they want to see you suffer. And we asked, what was the purpose of this meeting? Was it to, and they don't want to write anything down. Why do you want to come and spend more of the American taxpayers' money when all you have to do is write us a letter on your letterhead and sign your name and then have a person from Colombia come up to our house and bring it to us? Or you can send it right to our address. You've sent other victims' stuff right through regular mail. Why can't you send us a letter? You don't want to put anything on paper when it comes to Richard Halliday. Not one thing. Why? Because maybe there's some truth to these oh gosh, there's truth in that. Let me see. Maybe there's some truth. Oops, I just deleted it. Here it is. I'll keep it up. Maybe there's some truth Sorry. Just give me a minute, because this is... Maybe there's some truth to what all these shadow publications say. And can you imagine if there's truth in it? Because you have Donna Ana Range Complex. Being part of this, remains were found all the way up to this area here. This area was mentioned, and I thought it was very interesting. It says municipal schools, but that's not what this is. This is the Red Rio Range. The Red Rio Range. Yeah, I'm telling you. So we'd like to know if the Donna Ana, White Sands, the Red Rio Range, so as we figure out more, then maybe one of these officials will start to help us. But the more time they delay, the more danger they put us in, because the more we investigate, because every day we're getting new things, right? And then they put us in more and more danger, and they don't offer us any security, and they just sit back in their protected buildings with their security, with their air condition, with their pay, and do nothing when it's their job. Where is Ian? Where is Greg? Where are they? So I think if you have any questions, 7 comments. Thank you so much for watching. Can you believe it? Patty, thank you. Thank you, Sherry. Can you believe it if they found Richard's remains on July 29th, 2020 as this report? This is no little reporter. These are 2 reporters. This is Kyle Rempfer. Huge reporter. He works right now for the Washington Post. You know, thank you, Kat. And then again, partial remains on the 7th of August. No. Did I get that? Yeah, 7th of August, 2020. I think one of them mentioned that they announced it on the 10th of August. I'm like, where was that announcement? I didn't get any announcement. I didn't even know my son was missing on that date. So, and I'm so sorry that, yeah. It seems so insane, to be telling everybody this, that there must be some kind of accountability for them not even calling us and not even acknowledging what's going on in this case. And that, that raises red flags right there. Not only is the media not contacting us, but that all the officials aren't contacting us. So that raises a red flag. Because if we were wrong, if we were totally wrong, they would have it out there. they would be giving us calls and saying, "No, ma'am, do not say that about the Army, that the Army has betrayed you, that the Army has betrayed, every service member by this. Because if they'll do it to us, we're just little people. If they're going to do it to Richard, they'll do it to anybody. How many times have they done it before? You saw how they betrayed our service member in Afghanistan. They even betrayed the people that took all the risk to help us for years and years. So, yeah. If anybody has any more questions, Texas News, My Texas News, Real Texas News, USA Today, yeah. So, as we want to celebrate Easter, of course, and we will just keep tuned and say a lot of prayers. A lot of prayers. Where is Richard? We want to know if Richard was murdered on the 29th of July or before that, and his remains were found then, and his remains were found in Juarez, and his remains were found. What is going on here? We have 3 accounts of remains. Did they not want another Vanessa Guillen? This is worse than a Vanessa Guillen. I don't know if it's worse than Vanessa Guillen. I don't know. I think it's all so bad. I take that back. I just think forgive me. I think this is just all so bad. What happened to Enrique? What happened to Austin Hawk? What happened to Vanessa? What happened to Elder Fernandez? What happened, to Caleb Smither? And I named them. They're just off the top of my head, but there's so many more. Lavina Johnson. So forgive me. It's just, I'm a mom, and this is getting to 1,000 days. 1,000 days. So we're asking to end this. We're asking, of course, for a letter to be written, and I've posted a form letter up to the Inspector General to ask the Inspector General if he will inspect the investigation of Find Richard Halliday, if he would inspect Richard Halliday's case, because there are so many anomalies. It's so botched. There's so many unanswered questions. There's so many unwilling public servants to do their job. And we have a betrayal of the United States Army in this. We knew that from the beginning, and we got hit by that. And I try to tell people, do you understand? We don't say that easily. We've been go Army our whole life. So we ask that you write a letter to the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, and we've put up the address for him. 1,000 letters for 1,000 days. And thank you so much. And I wish everybody a very, very happy Easter, a very blessed Easter, and great weather and good health for our day of freedom. That's our day of freedom, Easter. So God bless you, and I will talk to you tomorrow, God willing. Bye-bye. Happy Easter, everybody.